Hi everybody, welcome to Coffee Break Accounting with me, Becky Brooksbank. Make sure that you have a cup of tea or coffee in hand and you are ready to go for today's session. If you haven't got a cup of tea or coffee in hand, go press pause, go put the kettle on, come back so you can settle in for our jargon-free accountancy session to help you better understand the numbers for your business. So series one that we've been looking at is everything to do with the profit and loss account. We've looked at sales, direct costs and gross profit up till now, and today we're going to look at pricing. So pricing is a favourite topic of mine, so I'm going to try and stick to having a session that is only 15 minutes long. Might go a bit slightly over, but I'm going to try and stick to just 15 minutes, otherwise I get a bit carried away. So we're going to kick off today with pricing. Last week we discussed around gross profits and what this teaches us about our business, and ultimately we came down to the fact that what our gross profit teaches us is whether our sales that we're charging out to our customers are higher than the cost that it's costing us to do the job that we're doing for them. So if your gross profit comes out as a loss, then your sales aren't high enough to cover the cost that you're expending for your business. And this nicely feeds into today's topic of pricing, because if our products and services are costing us more than we're charging our customers, we've got a problem with pricing. Okay? Should we be selling them at the price that we're selling them for if we can't even cover our costs, let alone before we get to covering our overheads? So we had a quick look at in the last program about loss leaders, and you can as a business obviously sell a loss leader, so something that you want to have as a trading at a loss. That's fine. Supermarkets do it all the time. You go in, down the aisle as you walk in, there are all the reduced products, buy one get one free, etc, etc. You put a few in the trolley, you think you're having a great bargain, you turn around, there's the children's toys, the electronics, and all the computer games. You think, oh, you're on a bit of a high, I've had a bit of a bargain, I'll throw one of these in the trolley as well. That's where they make their profits. So it's okay to do that. But if there's a continuing pattern, then the likelihood is you've got a problem with your pricing. Now, we've got to help today to understand a strategy that you might implement to decide whether you want to put your prices up or down, because let's all be honest about it, it's an absolute minefield deciding what your pricing is. Every workshop I run, it's always a really hot topic. So it's great to have a little snapshot in here so that you can go away with a helpful strategy that will hopefully get you thinking more about your pricing smartly. So we've been looking at John Tapp, our resident plumber case study, and he has been doing some bathroom installs, and his bathroom installs have been coming out at not the profit margin he was wanting. So how is John going to figure out what he wants to charge his customers? Okay, let's have a look a little bit at John's pricing. So the first thing John is going to do is break down what it actually costs to do the job. This is where we're getting into a bit of a jargon term. I said I wouldn't bring them in, but every now and then I have to. Sort of cost pricing, okay? He's going to look at what his job is costing him in order to be able to price it correctly. So John is going to go back to thinking about, right, Mrs. Brown had her bathroom installed. What did I have to buy? And he's made a little spreadsheet here. So materials, he's got his bathroom suite, he's got paint, he's got roller brushes, tiles, flooring, and then all his odds and sods like grout, silicone, adhesive and consumables. He also had Jack helping him. He couldn't get his bathroom suite up the stairs on his own. He needed somebody to help with lay the flooring. So Jack's helped him out at minimum wage for 10 hours, and it's cost him £82 in labour. So John is reflecting on the total costs of this job, and they're coming in at £1,512, as you can see down here. Okay. So John, if we unhide here, actually in his last job priced the customer £1,700, but it cost him £1,512. So actually, he only made £188 gross profit on this job. Okay, we did this calculation last week. Remember, you do the sales price less the job cost to give you your gross profit. He's then worked out what that is as a percentage of sales, which gives him his gross profit margin, and he's down at 11% gross profit margin for that job. That's why John's been feeling like he's got a bit of a problem with his pricing, because actually his margins are only down at 11%. Now, he knows he's got a problem. He knows why he's got a problem, because his materials are costing him more and his labour costing him quite a significant part of the price. But how is he going to decide now what he's going to pass on to his customer? What next time somebody comes to quote for a bathroom install, what's he going to charge them? So the easiest thing to do is get in your mind an idea of how much gross profit margin you want to make, and just play around with the numbers there. So John has done that. He's decided, right, I don't like just 11%. I want to raise my gross profits up a bit. What would happen if I chose to have a sales price of £2,000? Okay, so he's put in here a sales price of £2,000, and he's done the same calculation, gross profit being the £2,000 less the job cost of £1,500. That improves his margin to 24%. Is it enough? This is yet for John to decide. What happens if he then increases the install cost, pricing to £2,500? Well, now he's making nearly £1,000 profit on the job, and he's getting a gross profit margin of 40%. That feels a bit more exciting to John. He wants to see more profits from his jobs. So John could decide from this, okay, I wanted my gross profit margin to be 40%. Next customer that comes along, I'm going to quote them £2,500 for the job and see if they accept my quote. Great, if they do, John's then got a job that's going to have a 40% margin. But if he's still unsure, there's some extra strategy steps you could put in place. So first of all, always come back to what is your job costing you, okay? Can you cost it out, and can you decide what a margin you might want to make? If you're still hesitant and don't want to go to market with that, there's some other things that you can think about to see if it would help you have an idea. So how about thinking about now thinking about testing the water. So have a look around. Market research is such a valuable tool for your business, okay? Have a look at the environment you're working in. Have a look at what's going on, what your competitors are doing, and think about two things. Firstly, demand, okay? Demand pricing is where you look at the market and see how much people want the service or product that you're offering. If there's really high demand, people will pay more for what you're offering. If there's low demand, likelihood is people will pay less for what you're offering, unless you offer such a bespoke service for that, okay? And similarly, with competitor pricing, have a look at what your competitors are doing, because the last thing you want to do is go out to market at £3,000 higher than your competitors, and you just simply won't win the work, okay? So these are all factors to take into consideration, because ultimately you want a sales price that's going to bring you customers. So John is sat there and he's got his two potential fee increases. He could either go for £2,000 or he could go for £2,500. He's just had a look round at his environment around him, and he's looked at the demand and he's looked at competitor pricing, and he's found out a few facts, okay? So he knows we're now in February, still after Christmas, people are paying their credit card bills off, and they're also trying to think about booking their summer holidays for next year. Yep, okay. They really do want their bathroom done, but priorities say that their money is currently sidelined elsewhere. So demand at the moment is low, okay. People, it's lower on their list to invest in having their bathroom suites updated and their bathrooms sorted out. He's also found out that Knott's Plumbing for You down the road has got a special offer on for £1,800 for a bathroom install for the same level of service that he's providing. So he's looked at his demand and he's looked at his competitors. Which of the two fees, A or B, £2,000 or £2,500, do you think John might want to test his market with? Now, if you're thinking £2,000, then I'd probably be inclined to agree with you, because when he's looked at his cost, he's got £1,500 worth of cost, so that would give him a 24% margin. He knows at the moment that the demand is lower because people are still paying off their Christmas bills and looking for their some holidays. And he also knows that his competitor down the road is charging £1,800. So even though he's still going in slightly higher at £2,000, potentially, if people like him, they'll pay that extra £200 without much of a quandary on it. So at this precise moment in time, there's probably not much point in John taking his £2,500 to market. So he can go away and test the water with £2,000, all because he's thought through his strategy, cost pricing, what demand is out there, and what are his competitors doing. Now, John's a service-based business, but what I wanted to tell you is that regardless of whether you sell a service or a product, the strategy of looking at it in this way still works, okay? If you've got a product, you first look at the costs. And don't forget, it's not just the cost of the product, but it's everything else you do to that product before you resell it, okay? So think about, you're buying it from your supplier and it's got to ship to you. So you've got the product and you've got the shipping costs. Then you might repackage it into your packaging. So you've got additional packaging costs. You might put a special surprise inside for people who open it, and a bit of marketing bump for whatever it might be. If you're selling children's toys, it might be a lollipop for the children or anything else. Those are all costs that you have to think about because they all add up to the final product you send out to your clients. Okay, so don't forget to build in things like that. If you make something and you have to make a cake, for example, and you've got all your raw ingredients, then you've got the cost of running your gas and electric and washing up water and all that type of thing. You've got a small element of all these costs to build into your cost pricing for your product. Okay. Then you need to decide on the margin that you want to hit, just like John has. Then you need to go out and look at the market, look at demand for your product, look at the competitor pricing that you have, and then in exactly the same way as John, you will still come back down to having a price that you would want to take that product to market for. As you'll see, there's quite a great science behind pricing, but the one thing is there's never a right or a wrong price. All you can do is run the numbers and check that you're not making a loss, and then test the market to see which of your pricing structures you want to implement. Now, remember, implement it for a period of time, okay? You're not going to get an instant, yes, this is working, or no, this is working, within a week, okay? Depending on your customer background, how many clients you have and everything else, it could take a period of time to figure out whether this pricing structure is working. But again, if you go out with a pricing structure that's running at a loss, it'll fail straight away. So always make sure that you test the market first. Okay. Now, I have a huge debate as well about discounts. So there is an either love it or hate it theory on discounts. Now, I watch two business coaches on social media, and one is for discounting and one is totally against discounting. Okay, and I have to say, I probably sit in the anti-discounting camp a little bit. Now, the reasons for it is, think back to Black Friday, okay? Everybody all of a sudden goes to market with a special offer they're doing or to heighten their sales and everything else. That's probably fine for a one-off. I offer the odd one-off as well. But if you continually discount, then you might as well set your pricing at the high level at the lower level to start with, because actually all you're doing is saying, well, actually my product's worth this, but I'm only ever going to sell it for 20% cheaper. So you're devaluing your sales value in that product anyway. Okay, so always be careful about the perception as well. To me, pricing represents the value that you're placing on your goods or service. So if you want to deliver a premium product or service, then likelihood is you need to make sure you have a premium premium price tag related to that, okay? And be able to deliver up to that premium value. If you want to stay down in the value end of your product or service, that's fine too. Your price tag will reflect that, but you have to make sure that your clients understand what they're getting for their money and that there's no discrepancy between the two. Regular discounting can potentially just take away that value that you've put into your brand. So if you want a premium product and you constantly discount, then you will be seen as more of a value level service or product. So that's fine. So just remember, a little extra note, just think about the perception of what you're doing in the workplace, okay? So then my last comment just before I close, because I'm just conscious that I'm coming up to my 15 minutes now, is for the women out there, okay? Women, I have this all the time, okay? It's a confidence thing. When you set your pricing, don't be shy of it, okay? Men have an inherently natural confidence. They can say, my pricing's this and I'm going to go out there and I'm going to sell it. With women, and I was having this conversation with a client the other day, it's something that we struggle with, okay? And we always think, oh, we'll just come down a little bit lower and a little bit lower, because really, who wants my service or product for that price? Actually, they probably do. If you've done your market research and you've got a good pricing, there are people out there who want your service or product for that price. You've just got to find your target audience, okay? So don't, women, as the first thing, shy away from your pricing, okay? Think about it strategically, do your market research, and if you're confident you're at the right price, go and sell it, okay? So today, obviously, we've talked a lot around pricing and I've given you some basic steps. Remember, work out your costs, think about what margin you want, then have a look at demand in the marketplace, and then have a look at what your competitors are doing and see where your product or service might fit into that. So your takeaway task today, I'm sure you won't be surprised to hear it, is to think of one of your service lines or your products that you sell and run this analysis, okay? Can you actually, from the books and records you keep, break down what costs and materials and labour and everything are involved in that product? Do you know what the gross profit margin is on it? What does that tell you? And then think about having a look at finding some demand and also some competitor information and see if that shows you anything that you might want to change, okay? So takeaway task, go and have a look, implement these basic steps to have a look at some of your pricing, okay? So thank you all for joining me for today's weekly instalment of Coffee Break Accounting. Next week, we're going to jump over to episode 5 on our profit and loss series, which is looking at our overheads in our P&L. So look forward to seeing you next week. Thank you. Bye from Becky.